So basically nothing could go wrong, except if there was a nationwide power outage that knocked out the whole banking system and rendered credit cards and debit cards useless. So fair dinkum. Gracias.
Sugar, no?
No.
Okay.
So if I was to say to you Antigua, what's the first thing that comes into your head? Time's up. Correct answer is Viv Richards, or Sir Isaac Vivian Alexander Richards. You'd probably get a pass if you said Curtly Ambrose. If you said Alan Stafford, well, that's probably a little bit weird, but points for the obscure. But, and that's what I would have said too, up until maybe 2 or 3 months ago. But now, I'd probably say volcanoes in Guatemala, because that's where I am. Just having breakfast here, got here yesterday afternoon. Just having breakfast in this nice little area. The ambient music is a little bit too over ambient. But yeah, so getting out of Santiago was fair dinkum. Well, just while I pause, I should just backtrack and just say the kindness of strangers. So once in Santiago and once here when I arrived yesterday, I would have been cooked both times without the help of just some random passerby. So on the 25th of February, which is when I was leaving Santiago, the power went out across 90% of the country. At the time I thought it was just a few blocks, and then eventually it became clear it was the entire city, and then I read the next day it was 90% of the country. I think only Patagonia was spared. It's unbelievable. So I was taking the flight at 10:30 p.m. that night, and earlier in the day I had lunch at Honest Mike's. So how could you walk past a place that said Honest Mike and not stop in and have a bite to eat? So I did that, and fortunately or unfortunately as it turned out, the lady that was serving me spoke very good English, and because of that I said, listen, I'm flying out tonight, I want to get rid of all my Chilean money. Can I pay, get rid of all my money and then pay the balance on my card? And she said, yeah, no worries. And I did that because I've taken the airport bus a few times, and you just tap on it with your credit card or debit card, so no problem. So I didn't need any more Chilean money, and probably I was intending to have a couple of beers in the plaza later on in the afternoon and just put that on my card as well. So basically nothing could go wrong, except if there was a nationwide power outage that knocked out the whole banking system and rendered credit cards and debit cards useless. So fair dinkum. So I got to the queue to go on the bus at about 6 o'clock, and one bus had already just gone, and there was a little bit of a chatter in the queue, and I gleaned that credit cards weren't being accepted because the system was down, and I thought, uh-oh, and I started, well, it wasn't really a conversation, but I started, well, we'll call it a conversation, but I started talking to the guy that was in front of me in the queue, who looked very familiar, and I'm thinking he probably looked a little bit like Seal. Anyway, that's irrelevant. But I took out my wallet and opened it up and just said, no cash, what am I going to do? He didn't really respond verbally, but he sort of got the gist of what my dilemma was. Anyway, we waited ages because, this stage traffic lights are out and there's traffic jams all over the bloody place, so the bus turned up about 30-40 minutes later. Normally they run every about 15 minutes. And anyway, he got on the bus before me, and oh beauty, here we go, gracias. Having an omelette, folks, omeletto. Anyway, he got on the bus before me, and then I got on, lugging all my gear up the stairs, and went to gesture to pay with my card just to see what was going to happen, and the driver, of course, said no go. And then I gestured to say, can I pay in US dollars? Good. Can I pay in US dollars? And they weren't having a bar of that. And I'm blocking the doorway, of course, so no one else can get in. Well, I'm sort of pleading for mercy. And anyway, fortunately, the guy who got on before me got out of his seat and came up and gave me the fare to pay, so he bailed me out. And once I got settled in, I gave him some US dollars as combo, which he didn't want to accept, but I insisted. So, and then this flight last night, night before, on the 25th, so today's the 27th, because the country was out of power, the airport had generators, of course, so that was okay, but a lot of the computer systems weren't working properly, so they had to do everything manually. But remarkably, our flight left on time. I don't know how they did it. I was in the bloody queue for ages, running late, but they seemed to get it all together. So my long-range plan, when I was thinking about options after Patagonia, was to take a flight with an airline called Avianca and stop in Bogota for a week. Never been to Colombia before, but I only booked this a couple of days before, so, and by that stage the airfares were through the roof, so I put a line through that. Gracias. He's just bought the salt and pepper. A little bit of salt wouldn't go astray. So I put a pin through that and managed to get a flight here on points, but it was via Miami, so with American Airlines, so had to do an overnight flight to Miami. 5-hour wait time in Miami. Fortunately though, I've still got lounge access until excuse me, until the end of February, so I was able to use the lounge there, which was helpful. And then the 2.5-hour flight to here, Guatemala City, and then had to get a shuttle bus here to Antigua, which is only about 50 k's away. Had to wait about 40 minutes for that to turn up, and then getting out of that city, the traffic was unbelievable. And then the kindness of strangers, part 2. So I got to this place, I booked it on booking.com, and by the way, I've got an eSIM here, and that activated as soon as I got off the plane, so you know, I was checking emails and doing stuff like that on the shuttle bus here. And then get to the street where this this little room's located. It's not that good either, by the way, but that's a separate issue. And the signal was lost. So I got there, and this owner was going to give me the passcode to get in, but I couldn't contact him. And I pleaded with the shuttle driver to try and call him and all that and help me out. He waited a few minutes, but then he had other people he had to drop off, so he bailed on me. So I was just stuck on this street with no way of contacting this dude. I mean, I could have walked around, I suppose, but then I'd be leaving my bags there. I didn't really want to be lugging shit all over the place. And once I get some footage of these streets, you'll know why. It's all cobblestones, and you know, you just can't do it. But this lady, call her girl because she's pretty young, just wandered by, tourist. And I just sort of said, listen, do you speak English? She did. I'm not too sure where she was from. Somewhere in Europe, I'd say, but she spoke good enough English. And I explained my dilemma. Dilemma number 2 in 2 days. And asked if she could call this owner and try and figure out how I'm getting into this apartment. Calling it an apartment's probably a bit too charitable, by the way, but anyway. So she helped me out calling the guy, and she couldn't get through by phone, so she tried on WhatsApp, got him on WhatsApp, and the guy told me a passcode, because it was a little sort of digit keypad on the door, and tried the passcode, didn't work. And so I'm panicking now. Didn't want to hold this girl up for too long because she'd already taken a few minutes. And I said, she handed the phone to me, and I said, basically, you know, you've got to come here, you've got to help me out. And so he ended the call. He just said, hang on, I'll get back to you. He sort of indicated his phone reception or something wasn't all that good, but he'd send a message. So then we waited a little while, and this girl's getting a little bit impatient, understandably. And excuse me. And then a little message comes through. Did I just tell you that the first number he gave me didn't work? If I did, that's what happened. And then he sent through another number, and that worked. So fortunately I was in, and this girl was able to go about her business, and all was right, but I would have otherwise. Ambience getting destroyed here with a bit of, sounds like coffee grinding. Good coffee. I guess this is Guatemalan coffee. Not that I'm a coffee connoisseur and be able to taste the regions or anything. So anyway, here I am in Antigua, Guatemala. Don't know how long for. Well, at least a week, because I've booked for a week here. And Guatemala itself, I'm probably thinking about a month. I'll spend some time here, spend some time around the lake, and then I'll go to the northeast to see the Mayan ruins at Tikal. And yeah, so I'm going to continue with my breakfast, and if I've got any more info, I'll start up again.